What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:18 Eastern Time here in the United States. And I wanted to update you guys on the situation with the Hantavirus and Iran and everything else going on around the world. So what you're looking at here is a picture of a U.S. Navy boomer. A boomer is another name for a nuclear armed submarine for nuclear war. This is an Ohio class ballistic missile submarine that docked in a port in Gibraltar, all the way on the outer edge of the Mediterranean Sea, right near the Strait of Gibraltar. And the Navy did disclose this information publicly, which is very rare, and they shared these photos, high quality photos. Now, this particular submarine carries 20 Trident missiles, which can each carry up to a dozen nuclear warheads that have a blast of over 150 kilotons each. Okay, so this one submarine would be enough to completely annihilate the whole country of Iran. So clearly the U.S. is trying to make a statement to Iran, parking this nuclear-armed doomsday sub right outside of the Mediterranean Sea, or just inside the Mediterranean Sea. And the U.S. President Donald Trump posted this on his social media accounts. He said, "I am very much looking forward to my trip to China, an amazing country with a leader, President Xi, respected by all. Great things will happen for both countries." And he just left for China about 30 minutes ago. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens after that meeting. I wanted to just update you guys on the situation with the Hantavirus and all the latest information with that. So as of May 12th, today, 9 confirmed and 2 suspected cases of hantavirus infection have been associated with a cruise ship aboard the Dutch-flagged MV Hondius, according to the World Health Organization. The ship departed Argentina on its current voyage April the 1st. 3 people have died so far from this hantavirus outbreak on this MV Hondius cruise. And after disembarking at Tenerife on Sunday, that's in the Canary Islands, the remaining passengers and some of its crew on board have returned on chartered flights to their respective countries. 15 American citizens and 1 British national have been taken to a quarantine facility in Nebraska, where they will be assessed for symptoms and exposure risk. 2 people have been transported to Emory University's Serious Communicable Diseases Unit in Atlanta. So if you live in Nebraska and if you live near Atlanta, you need to be on high alert. You have people with the hantavirus, a specific strain of the hantavirus, the Andes strain, that makes it very communicable between people, okay? Additionally, several dozen people disembarked the ship on St. Helena on April 24th. These passengers included 7 Americans who are now being monitored across 5 states. Okay, so we have 16 people in Nebraska and in Atlanta, and then we have several dozen people across 5 states that were on this ship that are now being monitored, okay? So we could potentially have a COVID situation coming soon if this starts to spread. So get prepared. And again, this is the Andes strain, which is known to be able to spread between people. Very, very concerning. And updates from here in the U.S. on the people in Nebraska. At least 18 people are currently under observation at 2 of the nation's top medical centers after being potentially exposed to hantavirus. aboard the cruise ship, the MV Hondius. According to public health officials, 18 passengers who disembarked the cruise on Sunday returned to the U.S. Most went to the University of Nebraska Medical Center, where one is in the center's biocontainment unit, and 15 are in quarantine. The remaining 2 passengers were taken to Emory University's biocontainment unit. CDC officials said the 2 were moved to preserve space at the Nebraska biocontainment unit. According to Emory University, the patients sent to Atlanta are a couple, and one was showing symptoms. Georgia Department of Public Health Communications Director Nancy Nydam said she could not provide information on whether the pair had tested positive for hantavirus. WHO investigators, that's the World Health Organization, believe the outbreak stemmed from a Dutch couple on board the ship who came in close contact with wildlife carrying the virus before boarding the vessel. The Dutch couple died from their infections. Wow. And the Maryland Department of Health is monitoring 2 Maryland residents who may have been exposed to hantavirus after a flight that included a passenger from that cruise ship. And the World Health Organization is now warning that hantavirus cases are expected to surge in the coming days, and says people exposed to the virus could still develop symptoms much later on. Wow. Okay, so guys, get prepared. This situation is escalating, and I will be monitoring it very, very closely and updating accordingly. And the Israeli government wants Trump to order a special forces operation to secure Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. Israeli officials say Trump is hesitant to order such an operation because it is highly risky. And 2 U.S. officials say Trump is now leaning towards taking some form of military action against Iran to increase pressure on the regime and force concessions on its nuclear program. And Trump has become increasingly frustrated with how Iran is handling negotiations to end the war, and some aides say he is now more seriously considering a resumption of major combat operations than he has in weeks, according to CNN. Trump is particularly impatient over the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz and what he sees as divisions within Iran's leadership, preventing meaningful concessions on nuclear talks. Officials inside the administration are divided on the next step. Some are advocating a tougher strategy, including targeted strikes to further weaken Iran's position, while others are urging the White House to continue pursuing diplomacy. Interesting. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is Matt Hat Jerky. Guys, if you're a beef jerky lover like myself, you got to try Matt Hat Jerky. This is the best beef jerky I've ever had. I personally met the owner of this company at SHOT Show, and he's actually local to Pennsylvania. This company has an interesting story behind it. He founded this company when he was 11 years old. Yeah, that's right, 11 years old. He's now 19, and he makes gourmet beef jerky, the best jerky I've ever had. He's got over a dozen different flavors, and it's all sourced with U.S. beef, so no foreign beef, no nitrates, and no MSG. So it's all natural American beef jerky. And if you use my promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And you got to go to matthatjerky.com, and I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. That's matthatjerky.com, one word, matthatjerky.com. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off your entire order, and the link and the promo code are in the description down below. And Trump called the Iranian response to the U.S. peace proposal a quote-unquote piece of garbage, adding that the ceasefire is now on massive life support. Okay, so here's what I think is going to happen. Trump is going to China. He's going to talk with the leader of China about the situation and essentially get the leader of China his blessing to attack Iran again. Okay, Trump is going to China to get Xi Jinping's blessing to attack Iran, to get Xi Jinping's approval, because what he doesn't want happening is he's going to go back into Iran to try to finish the job, and then Xi is going to get pissed off because Xi gets a lot of his oil from Iran. Okay, do you think China wants the U.S. to be in control of Iran's oil? I don't think so, because China needs Iran's oil. So what would China do then? China would respond by attacking Taiwan. So Trump doesn't want that. And so he's going to talk about it with Xi Jinping. So that's why I believe Trump has been delaying the second round of strikes, because he needs to discuss this with the leader of China first. So potentially this weekend or next week, we could see strikes on Iran, or potentially after Memorial Day weekend. You know, Trump likes to wait until after major holidays to launch strikes. So potentially, I would say no sooner than this weekend or the week after Memorial Day. And the Iranian parliament speaker, Mohammad Ghalibaf, issued a warning on social media to the U.S. and Israel, saying, "Our armed forces are ready to deliver a well-deserved response to any aggression. Mistaken strategy and mistaken decisions will always lead to mistaken results. The whole world has already figured this out. We are prepared for all options. They will be surprised." Wow. So tough words there from the Iranian parliament speaker. And the Wall Street Journal, citing sources, reported that there are major gaps regarding the type of restrictions that Tehran will accept on its nuclear program. And the Saudi Aramco CEO, Amin Nasser, says that even if the Strait of Hormuz were to open today, it will still take months for the market to rebalance. And Israel's Walla News reported yesterday that the U.S. came close to resuming strikes on Iran last week. The decision to renew attacks was reportedly halted at the last minute in order to allow a final attempt at talks before further military escalation. And Pakistan apparently allowed Iranian military aircraft to shelter at one of their air bases, specifically the Nur Khan Air Force Base, following the early April ceasefire announcement, potentially shielding the aircraft from U.S. airstrikes, according to sources cited by CBS News. Among the aircraft reportedly moved was an Iranian RC-130 intelligence and reconnaissance plane. So Pakistan allowed Iran to move their planes, their high-value planes, to Pakistan so they wouldn't get destroyed. And I'm also hearing that Afghanistan, that the Taliban allowed Iran to do the same thing as well. So how can Pakistan be trusted now as a mediator? And according to Reuters, Saudi Arabia carried out a series of unpublicized strikes on Iran in retaliation for attacks on the kingdom during the recent war, according to 2 Western officials and 2 Iranian officials. Saudi Arabia informed Iran of the strikes in advance, which was followed by intense diplomatic exchanges and Saudi warnings of further retaliation, ultimately leading to an understanding between the 2 countries to reduce tensions and pursue de-escalation. Neither the Saudi nor Iranian foreign ministries directly addressed the matter when approached for comment. So Saudi Arabia carried out strikes on Iran. Wow. We're also hearing that the United Arab Emirates secretly carried out military strikes on Iran. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal. Apparently, one of the strikes included an attack on a refinery on Iran's Lavan Island. So that's an island in the Strait of Hormuz. Interesting. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, while testifying before the Senate, refused to answer whether or not Iran has 70 to 75% of their missile and drone capabilities still intact, and said he did not read the reports that said they had. So interesting. And Russia successfully test launched their RS-28 Sarmat ICBM, known by NATO as the Satan II missile, from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome at 11:15 Moscow time today. The missile struck its designated target at the Kura test range on the Kamchatka Peninsula approximately 30 minutes later. So the RS-28 Sarmat is the largest ICBM in the world. It can carry a massive payload, which some people believe are for destroying American cities. Okay, they can carry massive nuclear warheads. And so basically Russia has gone back in time and bucked the trend of making nuclear warheads smaller and more precise and more mobile, and they've gone back in time to the 50s and 60s and even the 70s, when during the Cold War we were competing with Russia to make the largest missiles with the largest warheads. And at some point we realized that bigger warheads are not necessary, because if you can make the warhead more accurate, you can actually do more damage to military targets and even cities with accurate small warheads that actually hit where you want them to hit. And thus you don't need, a 10 megaton warhead, because you can hit the same target precisely with a 5 megaton warhead and do the same damage, if not better damage. But Russia is going back in time. This is a liquid fueled missile. And so what that means is that this is not a retaliatory missile. This is a first strike missile. Okay, and the reason why I know that, it's common sense. When you fuel a missile with liquid fuel, you need 2 to 3 hours to fuel it up before launch. Okay, and we know where all these missiles are located. So the only potential use for this missile is as a first strike missile, because we would destroy that missile before they have a chance to refuel it, because it takes 20 to 30 minutes for a US missile to reach Russia from the United States or from any of the nearby oceans, and it takes them 2 to 3 hours to fuel this missile up. So obviously they're not going to use it as a second strike weapon. This is a first strike city killer missile designed to destroy all the big cities in the United States. And the Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, said that he is continuing to mobilize his military to prepare for war. He also said, God willing, he will be able to avoid war. So I guess he's talking about war with Europe or war with Ukraine or both. And the Spanish foreign minister is now calling on the creation of a unified European army to replace the current system of protection by the U.S. under NATO. And Fox News reported that Trump is now reportedly seriously considering making Venezuela the 51st state. And here we have some footage of a Sinclair oil refinery that is burning in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I wonder if this is not sabotage. But that's the latest breaking news that I have for now. I will be back later on tonight with more breaking news. So until then, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a $100 discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com. The link is in the description down below. The normal price for their 3-month kit is $800, and they're selling it for $700. That's $700 for 3 months of emergency food, up to 2,000 calories per day for 3 months, and it has a shelf life of 25 years, all packed within rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. You don't have to monitor expiration dates. You don't need a massive place to keep all your food. You can fit all this food in a tiny closet in a studio apartment. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $100 off the My Patriot Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video.